What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. I hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Today, we're going to be going over my opinions on who should be the starting quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines in the upcoming 2021 college football season. Now, we are still a bit from the college football opening day, but the Michigan Wolverines find themselves in a very interesting position with potentially 4 different quarterbacks who might be their starter come the college football season. We're going to be breaking down those guys today. We got Joe Milton, Cade McNamara. We saw them both start at points last season. Definitely some highs they had, definitely some lows as well. We'll be breaking those down. We got JJ McCarthy, the 5-star incoming freshman from IMG Academy, possibly our best quarterback recruit as far back as I can remember, and definitely, in my opinion, the most talented quarterback that we're going to have in the Jim Harbaugh era. And then we got Dan Villari, who was actually slotted to be the starting quarterback for the Ohio State game last season, with Cade McNamara injured and Joe Milton not playing very well at all. So who knows how high the coaching staff actually is on Dan Villari. But before we get to breaking down those 4 guys, I just want to touch on Dylan McCaffrey, our quarterback who sat out last year, did enter the transfer portal, and has officially transferred as of a few days ago to Northern Colorado. If you're wondering why Northern Colorado seems like sort of an odd program, well, that's actually where his dad is the coach at, so he's going to join his dad over there. So I wish him all the best. Definitely, in my opinion, still a rough move to go from Michigan to Northern Colorado, but I do think Dylan McCaffrey is a very talented quarterback on the field, great guy off the field, so I do wish him all the best in the next steps of his journey. But anyways, let's get started with Joe Milton. Now, Joe Milton was our opening day starter last year, and people had really high hopes for him. I mean, he's a big guy at 6'5", can throw the ball really far. He can throw like 80-plus yards. He's shown that in warm-up. He's a guy who can move around his feet. So in terms of raw talent, I mean, he's got all the tools in his toolbox. But we always knew that Joe Milton, even in his high school days, even in the limited throws that we saw him before last season do for the Michigan Wolverines, we knew he was inaccurate. This is a guy who threw a bunch of interceptions in high school. This is a guy who passed like 11 times before last year for the Michigan Wolverines and had thrown like 2 interceptions. So to say that, it was a surprise that Joe Milton was inaccurate in this past season, I mean, that would be a lie. But who knew that he would be this inaccurate? We saw him go from what looked like a potentially program-changing quarterback in the first game against Minnesota. He was seeing the field. He could move out of the pocket, was accurate in his medium to deeper passes. We just didn't see that for the rest of the season. For a guy who can throw 80 yards, for us in the later parts of Joe Milton's starts to not even be able to throw downfield because we knew it was going to be incomplete, I mean, that was really, I think, in my opinion, the basis of why this offense with Joe Milton didn't work. Because he was so inaccurate on the deep ball, we didn't even take shots deep, and all of a sudden, defenses were playing a lot more shallower, right? Guarding the run a whole lot more, guarding those shorter passes. And the entire scheme just didn't work. Joe Milton had a 56.7 completion percentage through 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. A lot of those were in the same game. Raw talent-wise, though, I'm still like, Joe Milton is probably our most talented quarterback on this roster in terms of raw talent. I mean, you can't argue with the guy who's 6'5" and can throw the football 80 yards, but we have a lot of other talent on this roster, so who knows if the Michigan Wolverines want to go back to him. Next, we got Cade McNamara. Now, we saw Cade McNamara take over at the midway point in the season, and again, really similar to Joe Milton, was fantastic when we first saw him, but slowly, progressively over the course of the season and throughout his starts, we just didn't see the same field vision that we saw earlier on in the season. And the thing that I didn't like about Cade McNamara is that he really only throws short passes, right? Where Joe Milton, we could take those shots deep. Cade McNamara didn't have the same arm strength. He doesn't have the same ability to get out of the pocket. But what was good about Cade McNamara is, for whatever reason, our wide receiving core had a better time clicking with McNamara than Joe Milton. And you saw Ronnie Bell get more touches. You saw the offense, especially at times, against Rutgers for sure. We saw the offense move more efficiently with Cade McNamara than we ever saw with Joe Milton. Now, I think that Cade McNamara is the safest option, so it depends on the route that the Wolverines want to go. Do you want to take another shot with Cade McNamara, or do you go the risky option potentially with JJ McCarthy and start him as a freshman quarterback? Cade McNamara, though, threw 5 touchdowns and no interceptions, a 60.6 completion percentage. If you want a guy who's not going to turn the ball over, a guy who's really patient, and a guy who's pretty accurate, at least in comparison to Joe Milton, Cade McNamara is that guy. Then we got JJ McCarthy, the 5-star quarterback according to the 24/7 Sports Composite Ranking System, ranked number 23rd nationally and the second pro-style quarterback in his class. Now, JJ McCarthy is a very, very exciting player. He's probably the best quarterback recruit that we've ever had from Jim Harbaugh. I'd say that pretty confidently. And he might be actually the most talented quarterback that we've seen in the Jim Harbaugh era. If you didn't watch JJ McCarthy play for IMG Academy in high school, this is a guy who's 6'3", so he's still got some decent size. He's 2 inches taller than JJ McCarthy. This is a guy who's a really, really good pocket passer, has good arm strength, is really patient in the pocket, and has the ability. He's not like Joe Milton type speed, but he can still get out of the pocket, and he's really patient outside and accurate throwing on the run. And I think, there's a difference between him and Joe Milton, because even though JJ McCarthy can still throw deep, I think he's a lot more patient in the pocket. And compared to a guy like Shea Patterson that we would have seen a few years ago, I think, again, that patience is going to be huge for the Wolverines whenever JJ McCarthy does start. And I think football IQ-wise, this is a very smart quarterback where we didn't see Shea Patterson, for example, throw balls away. JJ McCarthy will do that. He's a very smart quarterback. And then we got Dan Villari. I mean, this is an interesting one. On paper, probably our 4th-string quarterback, but again, coaching staff had to be high on him to have him slotted as the Ohio State starter in our biggest rivalry game with Joe Milton, healthy and potentially ready to play that game. Dan Villari was a 3-star recruit in 2020, a guy who was ranked 1225 nationally in his class, but he's big. He's 6'4", which is only an inch smaller than Joe Milton. He can throw the ball deep. He's pretty accurate. I don't know too much about this kid, but again, I do know that he's got that frame. He's not as inaccurate as Joe Milton, and potentially gives us our biggest threat to throw those deep balls. So I think it comes down to who the Michigan Wolverines, or how risky the Michigan Wolverines really want to be at the start of the season. In my opinion, they probably start with Cade McNamara for the first few games, but I wouldn't be mad by any means if JJ McCarthy did end up playing quarterback 2-3 games in. Because I think he's got the talent to do it. I just think that we go the safer route. Cade McNamara was pretty good at the back end of last season. Would it be nice to see him get a few more reps if our games didn't get canceled at the end of the season due to COVID? Because I would have liked to see what McNamara did if he was back from his concussion injury. But yeah, would expect Cade McNamara to start the season as the quarterback. I think Joe Milton is just too risky. We don't know enough about Dan Villari. And I think that JJ McCarthy as a freshman quarterback, you just give him time to work through some reps at practice, get a feel for the game. You put him in few games into the season, and I think at the beginning of the season, Cade McNamara should be good enough to get the job done. With the other recruits coming in, hopefully our defense is a bit better this year. But we'll be talking about all of that in the Michigan season preview that I do, probably a bit closer to the season, but it could be coming anytime soon. So let me know if you want to see that down in the comment section below. But anyways, guys, that is going to be all for today. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure to let me know down in the comment section below. Also, make sure to hit the like button, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more Michigan Wolverines content just like this. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.